What's up, guys? So today we're going to be looking at a different game, Star Wars Battlefront. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it. There's quite a bit of hype surrounding it. The beta came out for this weekend, so I decided to jump into it and take a look at the game. So we're going to be playing on the Rebel side. We're going to be doing the Walker Assault, I think is what the name of the game mode is, and I took a rock to the face there. So I want to talk about the game overall a little bit. And I'll preface everything I say by saying that I'm not really planning on buying this game, and not really because it's good or bad, although I'm not super into it. I'm more into other games that are going to be coming out around the same time. Mainly Overwatch. I know that beta is going to be dropping in fall. This is coming out in November, so even if it's not out by then already, I shouldn't have a whole lot of time to wait before it's out. So, that being said, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game and how much I'm enjoying them. It's my opinion. A lot of people's are going to differ. There's been people that are completely trashing this game, people that have been praising it, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of both of those. So, I think that the graphics are some of the best, and I need to turn on my FPS because it feels like I'm lagging a little bit, but it doesn't actually look like I am at all. Alright, so the graphics are some of the best that I've seen in the game. I would give it an 8, 9, or 10 on graphics. I think they're really good. This is on medium. I can't actually run it on ultra while recording, so it still looks pretty good, and obviously there's going to be some loss of quality while I'm recording as well, so it looks even better than this on your screens when you're actually playing it. The sound, I think that they did a really great job. If you guys can hear it, I don't know if you will be able to, but up above with the planes going by, they actually sound like they would from one of the Star Wars films, and it really is believable that you're kind of there. You know, you have those X-Wings and stuff going across, and it actually sounds like that. TIE fighters have a very distinct sound as well, that kind of screech, and it actually sounds like that when you're flying. It sounds like that when they buzz over your head. The lasers on the guns sound good, and actually feel like they should. You know, what you would assume that they would feel like when you're piloting or whatever, the AT-AT, AT-STs, the lasers and the guns all sound really good. And I would give that a really high rating as well, probably the same as on par with the graphics that I would give it. The things that I dislike about the game are, some of them are a little bit easy to fix, others aren't as much. I don't really care for the power-up system. I rather, I don't know, allow people to do kind of what they want to do, but then everybody would always be in a vehicle. So the whole, that's all of game design. That's not going to change, right? You might see different power-ups, you might see the balance of the power-ups change, but the system that you actually, use to get into these vehicles, at least in this game mode, is never going to change. It's not terrible, right? It's playable. I enjoy flying in this quite a bit. Obviously, playing the heroes, Luke and Vader, are in the game right now. Those are both really fun. I actually think I get one of those in this game and do okay, but nothing too crazy. The spawn system, I think, is probably the weakest point of this game mode altogether. You can spawn behind people, people can spawn behind you, you can be looking at people's spawns and just camp all day, and it happens to Rebels almost every game. And that leads into the next point, which is balance. I don't actually think that the balance of the game is as bad as it feels like to everybody, because I'm going to be honest, I've played maybe 30 games of this game mode. I've seen Rebels win once, but I don't think that's because of the balance of the game. I actually think it's more because the majority of players are just playing it like a standard FPS, aren't really paying attention to objectives, and because of that, the walkers will eventually make it to their target destination, and Imperials don't really have to do anything. That was actually an amazing shot by that AT-AT, by the way, who hit me in midair. That's pretty difficult to do. But yeah, I think the game's pretty fun. I'm enjoying it, but I think that it would get old a little bit quickly, and obviously that coming from someone who played a game that's kind of notorious for being repetitive. A couple of games actually notorious for being repetitive, which would be Evolve, and then a long time ago I played StarCraft 2, which is basically the same game over and over again. So I think that certain games get repetitive to different people for certain reasons. For me, I don't find a game all that repetitive if there's a lot more for me to learn and like strive for. And I think that this feels like a very basic FPS with StarCraft or Star Wars visuals just kind of like painted over it. I do think it feels kind of generic in that sense. But obviously that's my opinion, and a lot of people are gonna find that different from what they think. I do like it. I'm enjoying it. You know, I don't want to say that I'm not, and I think that a lot of people will enjoy it, but I do think that there's other games that are coming out that I'll enjoy more. So let's talk a little bit more about what we're doing here and talk about Walker Assault for people who might not know. So there's two walkers, you probably have seen them, AT-AT walkers. There's one out in the distance there. They're going to slowly walk towards the rebel camp and try to blow it up. The job as the rebels is to, as you'll see that little shiny thing over there, once that is on there, you'll see their health up above in that red bar. And you can finally actually deal damage to these. So I'm going to go ahead and try to deal as much damage to this AT-AT as I can before the time runs out, which is based on the amount of Y-Wings, I think, is what happens there. So we'll talk a little bit more about those after we stop damaging it, because we got to the first like stage. As you can see that red bar up at the top of the screen, the red and blue, every time those bubbles fill up to red, which is basically like a checkpoint that the AT-ATs hit, your Y-Wings will come in and take down the shields of the AT-AT walkers, and then you can finally damage them. So we actually did a decent job, but we're not gonna be able to win this game. I can already tell. If the only way you're really gonna win this game is during the first stage, you really have to do a significant amount of damage to one of them, maybe even kill one of them. And I think the only way to do that is by having a lot of air control at the time, and also maybe having a orbital strike. I haven't actually gotten one and seen how much damage they do, but I've heard that they do quite a bit of damage. So now you see on my HUD there's these blue radar dishes, and those can be blue or red depending on who's, or actually blue or white depending on if your team's controlling them or not. Every time that blue and white circle fills up, you get one Y-Wing, and that's going to be for the next checkpoint when they hit. So that next ball up at the top of the screen, when that fills in red, all of your Y-Wings will go ahead and take down the shields of the AT-AT walkers. And depending on how many you have, it will be a longer duration that you're actually able to damage them. So that's kind of how it works. It doesn't make it happen more frequently or anything like that. It's just the duration at which you can actually damage them. I don't know the max amount that you can get. I've heard that people have gotten up to like 11 before. I think the most I've gotten is like 8. So there's Luke running around. Hopefully he does some good for the team. But overall, I think that if the rebels are actually playing the objectives, they probably can win a little bit more frequently than we're seeing. But as it stands right now, for people who don't know the game, overall I think that the Imperials have the advantage. Unless your entire team is coordinated and actually knows what they're doing. And to find 20 people that are all going to be coordinated and knowing what they're doing in a game like this is probably not going to happen. So there might need to be some balance tweaks just to make it a little bit more playable. I do still find it reasonably fun. Obviously it's more fun on the Imperial side, but I do find it reasonably fun to play on the Rebel side. You can still get into X-Wings and the A-Wings, the two fighters, which are really fun to play. Obviously if you find Luke, which is another power-up in the game, you'll see the little power-ups around as I get them. I'm not sure if I get one, but there is one under the wing of this. It looks like it's not there right now. But there's an A-Wing out there sometimes that spawns. There it is right there. So you see these little power-ups, and I'll grab this one. And so that's a ship that I'll be able to get. I think this one's more like a bomber. So I was going to try to time this out and wait until I was able to bomb the AT-ATs, because they do a lot of damage. It's a pretty significant amount of damage that you can do with these things. And I actually really like the flying in this game. And coming from, like, I've actually been putting a lot of time into PlanetSide 2 recently, and in that game I can't fly at all. The flying in that game is so much more difficult, and the people that have been flying forever are so experienced at it that it's really hard to get started and actually learn. I'm actually going to wait a little bit of time out until the AT-ATs are vulnerable, and then I'm going to go in, unless I see an enemy ship, because I don't want to get shot down from the ground, even though it's reasonably hard for that to happen. I don't want to risk it, so I'm going to kind of wait over here. I don't know if you saw the buildings below me, but that's the objective that the AT-ATs are trying to blow up. So talking about the flying, it's actually pretty intuitive and pretty easy, and there's just enough skill involved in like the acceleration and deceleration and like turning and positioning your aircraft behind enemy aircraft that if you're good at it, you can dominate the skies, but it's easy enough that it's pretty intuitive and easy to control your plane, and you're not like smashing into the ground for no reason. So you'll see there I hit him with my rockets, and now the Y-Wings are coming in. I won't get a whole lot of damage on this pass, but it should be able to get a good amount of damage because there's no air. I'm missing a little bit, but I'm doing a decent amount of damage. Every time that that 5 ticks up, I'm getting like 1% or something out of it. So you'll see it when I'm hitting it, it goes down. Oh my god, those rockets went right over it. Those rockets do a significant amount of damage, but it's pretty hard to actually aim them. They like go above your mouse cursor by quite a bit. There is quite a bit of weird aiming in this game. Something that I've found, we might actually take this one down, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Something that I noticed though is if you're in third person as like a player, the aiming seems a little bit weird. I'm going to actually get out of this and just by smashing into it. I think I actually destroyed that, which is kind of cool. I might have been able to get a little bit of damage on this guy, but I want to get into position for relays. Although what I've noticed is that the third checkpoint relay doesn't really matter as much because the game doesn't really stop. So even if you have a ton of Y-Wings at the third relay, you still just lose because you don't have the time to actually deal damage to it. The only way that we're going to win this is if someone gets into a speeder, which is another aircraft, and you can actually rope the legs of the AT-AT walkers. Kind of like, I think that happened in a movie once. I don't know. I don't follow Star Wars nearly as much as some people do. I'll watch the movies like once, and then that's kind of it. You know, I'm kind of like a Star Wars fan from a distance. Let's see if I can kill all these guys. Got one with a grenade, get the other one. This is another thing about the spawning system, right? Is those guys could have very easily just like spawned right here, and I could spawn behind them and just kill everybody because they don't know that I'm there. It happens pretty frequently. I've actually figured out a couple of the spawns on the rebel side because they get spawn camped so frequently. So you see those smaller ones are the AT-ST walkers. They're pretty good. The rebels don't have anything like that. They have no ground vehicles, which is kind of annoying, but... And that might be something that they need. I don't know. I don't know what they need, but I feel like rebels need something. That's actually so cool. Did you see that? I threw a grenade at their feet, and they both like killed me and then flew away in different directions. That was actually cool. The game lends itself to some really epic scenarios, and I've been trying so hard to get a Luke Vader fight because obviously everybody wants that, but it's so hard to actually time that out. I think that I find a Luke card at the very end of this game, so you'll be able to see how that works, but it's basically like a power-up like anything else, and it only spawns like once per zone, I think, once per checkpoint. One person can get it, and it only lasts for like a minute and a half or something like that. Oh, yep, there's the hero icon right there. It's a little lightsaber, kind of looks like a Quake icon, almost, is the way that I look at it. And so now I'm going to get Luke.
May the Force be with us.
And I don't know why the sound didn't really work there. Or maybe it was just really low. But I like Luke better than Vader because he's a little bit more mobile. Vader is a bit better at like range. I'm going to look for some guys that I can cut up though. He's obviously super overpowered and pretty difficult to kill. I have actually soloed Vader once, and it was actually pretty fun. I jetpacked away from him when he was like, he leapt towards me. I jetpacked away and threw a grenade at his feet, and he was already had taken some damage anyway, and I was shooting at him before. But that was pretty fun. Because generally, against most people, you'll just jump at them, like slash them up, and then they'll die. I like that like speed boost that you can do with Luke. I don't know. There's a little bit of lag going on today. I think that there's just a lot of people playing right now. Yeah, you can see I'm kind of killing people before my swing and stuff like that. There's a little bit of lag going on these servers. I mean, that's going to happen when you go from not having anyone playing to an open beta where everyone's playing. Alright, so there's the defeat, obviously going to happen. So we'll jump into an Imperial game tomorrow, but that's Star Wars Battlefront, at least one game. We'll do a couple of videos on this, so thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.